Hey there, Jono here, and welcome to the installation video for the GPStar Attenuator. So the first thing we're going to do is grab your attenuator body and grab the clear clip light lens, and you're just going to pop it into the top here, and it should be it should just snap in nice and easy. Then grab your 3 LEDs along with the LED holders. Now you may notice here is important. One of them is circled and the other 2 are rectangular on the inside. So we want to take the circled one. And then we're going to snap it into LED number 1. Then just go ahead down the line and snap in the rest. So LED number 2 and then LED number 3. Now, with your body, you can flip it over, and you're going to need a hot glue. And you're going to need a hot glue gun for most of this. So you're going to take your first LED, and it's going to pop in there where the clip light lens is. And you're going to want to orient it in this direction, and then just apply some hot glue to it. And then you're going to want to hold it still until it dries. Okay, next up, take the second LED, and we're just going to organize this a bit better. And this is going to go into that top hole. And once again, we're going to hot glue it to the body. Oh, and a tip for the third one. I found that it was easier to put the hot glue onto the body first and then push down with the LED. And I forgot to mention, but if you're using an aluminum shell, you have to put a little bit of electrical tape to the front of the bar graph board like so. Otherwise, those pins will touch the shell, and that'll cause some problems. Then you can take your bar graph and orient it in this direction of the connectors to the left, and then you can just go ahead and pop that in. It's gonna look like that. Make sure it's nice and flush. Then take your hot glue gun, and we're just gonna put a couple of dabs on the bottom. A couple of dabs on top. And then take your rotary encoder and go ahead and pop that in. And while holding it down and flipping it over, we're going to drop in the washer. And then we're going to drop in the nut and then go ahead and just tighten that. We're tightening it while still holding it in place with the back side. Next up are the toggle switches. Just going to remove the nut and the washers and everything. And then slide on the flat washer and also make sure that the orientation of the toggle switch is correct. The second wire should be towards the bottom of the body. And then once you pop that in, just go ahead and screw on the nut. And then of course, you're just going to repeat the same process for the second one. And go ahead to double check the back to make sure everything is vertical and that is oriented in the correct direction. Now grab your clear dome and the flange, and we're gonna have to glue this on. So you can go ahead and just apply a bit of CA glue to the body. And then carefully put that on, centering it. And then we're just gonna hold it down until it dries. And then next, you're gonna drop a bit of glue in the 2 little holes there, and you're gonna stick on your dome. And once again, just go hold it down until that dries. Next, grab the radioactive indicator and the clear lens and pop that in. Then go ahead and just apply a bit of glue to the edge, and we're probably gonna want to apply a bit of glue to the body as well. And whoopsie, stuck on my finger. And yeah, we're just gonna hold it down until it dries the same way. Okay, now we're going to grab some cosmetic screws here, starting with the brass ones. So go ahead and pop one of those in, and then flip this over, and you're going to try to drop the nut onto it. And then using a screwdriver while holding the nut in with your other finger, just go ahead and tighten it, as well as the rest. So finish all 4. Then the rest of the cosmetic screws, similar fashion. We're just going to line up the nut first this time, and then try to thread the screw in. And of course, using an Allen wrench will be easier to tighten these. And lastly, we're going to grab the knob. And as you can see, one side of it is flat inside. And on the rotor encoder, one side of that is flat. So try to line those up, and then it should pop in one way. And I didn't show it here, but applying a bit of hot glue will help holding it in place. And now I have to apologize. The footage for wiring up the main board, I'm not sure what happened. Either I forgot to hit the record button, or I accidentally deleted the file somewhere, but I don't know where it went. So instead, I'm just going to pull up the written instructions here, and we're just going to walk through that section together. So you're going to go down to page 5. It's pretty straightforward anyways, just like the rest of the kit. It's a really easy kit. The big long cable that connects to the pack, you're going to just go ahead and put that through the hole and put the nut on the other side to tighten it. And then just follow this diagram here for the wires for the board. So you're going to have to unscrew these terminals first, and then just insert these 4 wires according to the description here. And then for the 5 color cables here, so just orientate the board this way so the back of it is facing upwards, and then the green one needs to be on the left side here. So as long as you got these in this order, you're good to go. And that's it. Next, as a precaution, we're just put a bit of electrical tape to the back of the rotor encoder board, just to avoid any interference or touching other electronics. Now grab your bar graph wires and plug them in. And you can just make a mental note that the top wire is for the power and the bottom one is for the serial data connection. So we're going to take the top wire and you're just going to plug it into the top middle connector. It should say ground and 5-volt on it. Then take the bottom one and connect it right underneath, which should say SDA and SCL. Now grab the left toggle switch and plug that in, and then the right one plugs in right underneath it. And then with the ribbon cable connector, you're just going to bend it and make note of this green cable. So it just goes in the same way as how it is with the board. So the green one needs to be in the left side of the rotor encoder until it looks like this. Now open up the terminals on the board. And then grab the LED wires. Make note of the red one on the left. That goes onto the left terminal. Screw it in. And then just follow suit and screw in the rest. Give it a tug to make sure it's secure. Now grab your main board. There are 4 holes, optional holes for screws if you like. But it should be able to snap in with just pressure. And it should be able to hold in just fine without any screws. And then take some tweezers and remove the back cover of the rumble motor. And then we're just going to stick it onto the main board holder. Be careful of the wires. They are very small and they can break easily. Now just tuck the wires in and then just go ahead and snap into the side there. The wire should apply a lot of pressure, enough pressure to hold it in place, so you don't really need to glue it or anything. Okay, so now before we put on the back of the cover, you're going to need to have a way to connect this to your Alice frame strap. So I just have a couple of basic clips here. I'm just screwing in with some M4 screw and nuts. There are many solutions out there. If you want to check out our GPStar Facebook group, you'll see what other ideas that people have done. Okay, once that's done, just go ahead and put the back on and then apply the screws that come with the kit. Take your Allen wrench to tighten them. Okay, now we're going to have to connect this to our Alice frame strap. So as you can see, they're just going to clip in. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to slide it through. And see, it's pretty tight, so that's a good thing. It's not fully centered, but I don't mind. And then we're just gonna give it a shake to test it out. It's gonna shake it violently, which is something that will probably never happen when you're out and about anyways. So you can see the solution is good enough. So let's move on connecting the other end to our pack. Okay, so I think for my attenuator, I'm gonna be installing it right here. Reason being is my electronics are mounted on my motherboard. And so this to here, that just kind of makes sense. So I'm gonna go with that. Okay, now we're gonna feed in the wires through the hole. And then grab your nut and go ahead and tighten it. Now you wanna make sure on the other side that the little notch is facing upwards. So because with it facing upwards, we know that this wire on the right here will plug into the power connection. So it goes into here, label 5-volt out. And then the other one will go into the serial connector, which is RX1, TX1, or attenuator. Okay, so now that we have this fully connected to the pack, it's gonna power on the battery. And before I test this out, we want to make sure that the firmware is the exact same as the pack and the wand. So I'm going to show you how to update that. So leave the battery on because now we're connected to the Wi-Fi in here. Okay, so now on your computer or phone, we're going to head to the GPStar website, click on support and downloads, scroll down to the firmware section, and then we're going to have to download the GPStar Attenuator firmware. And once again, make sure all 3 firmware for your pack, wand, and attenuator are on the same version. Click download, and then we're going to click down here and open up your Wi-Fi, and you should see the attenuator. Mine's already renamed to Jono Attenuator. Yours will also be something else. Click connect. When it asks you for a password, the default password is 555-2368. Okay, and once it's connected, we're going to head to the attenuator page, and this one is going to be 192.168.1.2. That might change later on, but at the time making this, that's the only URL that I know of. Okay, and once you're connected, we're going to head over to the 4th tab here, and then update attenuator firmware. Click select file, and then into your downloads or wherever you download it, double click the attenuator firmware. And once it's done downloading, that's it, you're good to go. And before we head back to our pack, just want to show you a couple more things. Because the attenuator is turned on and connected, by default, it turns off your pack and wand Wi-Fi. So you won't see that here in your Wi-Fi list. But if at any point you need to update those firmware, well, then of course you're going to need to connect to them. One way is to manually go into your wand settings and enable it there. But another way to do it is while you're in the attenuator Wi-Fi portal, click on the pack settings, scroll to the bottom, and down here, you can turn on Wi-Fi, pack Wi-Fi enabled, yes or no. And of course, in the wand settings, same thing. So that's just another way you can get around turning it on. All right, let's head back to our pack and test it out. Okay, now we are back to our pack. Okay, get my attenuator, and let's try turning it on. Okay, and look like that works. And now we're gonna try to turn up the volume because it's a little low, and we'll push down and turn. Nice and loud. Turn back down. Play some music. Yep, that works. All right. Let's try changing the modes. Yeah, looks good. All right, I think this is a successful test. There you go. I hope you guys have as much fun as I am with this thing. Take care. See you guys later. Bye.